sort of mood elevated, energetic, then the sort of head high. To particular things, something they're watching or something they're doing, or music allows them to narrow their sense of focus. That's going to
It's a pleasant good morning here at Broadcasting House England Village, Freetown, and you are welcome to your breakfast program, Good Morning Sierra, reaching live on TV. And of course, today happens to be the 14th day of May 2026. This program, as you know, it started always with analysis and divergence of views and news and current affairs in the country. We are your presenters. I'm Dennis Fideltino.
I am Esther Sacco. Our quote of the day is from American artist Bea Arthur, and it says, "I believe that you are here on earth for a short time, and while you are here, you shouldn't forget
That's a moment. Yeah, definitely. As always, it's a food for thought. To you, esteemed viewers, and of course, I believe, Esther, it's so very much important. I mean, there's a paramount interest you attach to life. When once you are alive, you should know that you should live the moment. Live the moment, not so much of being too excited, and forget that there are other people around you that you can erode their space and don't feel like they should exist as well.
Exactly.
Is that not the case with you as well?
Exactly.
Yeah, because of course we've been seeing in recent times how the misnomer, I would say, misnomer behavior of some citizens who I don't really consider to be patriotic. I mean, how can you be recklessly driving to the point that you even forget that people on the road as well who are making use of it, and then you claim the life of other innocent citizens.
Exactly, that has been the case for a lot of people quite recently, because we can see the spate of accident that has been happening for the past year. And I can recall quite recently at this Model Junction, a colleague of ours was also affected, and Jonathan.
Definitely, yes.
Because of careless
driving. I don't normally refer to it as careless. I call it reckless driving. And so still live in the moment. And of course, that this is something it's not what you should take note of it, because 2 months from now, it's my birthday. Should I scream that out? Alright, so coming up in the program this morning, of course, to our menu, we take a look at the new six nationwide safety measures unveiled by the Sierra Leone Police, Port and Harbors Authority and the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority after fatal container truck crashes. But at this point, we invite you to send in your comments, your thoughts and suggestions to this, of course, very important conversation we're going to be having here. We have a well-grounded panel to as well talk on this issue this morning, but that's what is up for discussions this morning. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone. You can also be part of it by joining us online on our social media streaming platforms, especially on Facebook at slbc.sl. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone. Stay with us.
watchers, good morning, Sailing live on the Sailing Broadcasting Corporation. You can be part of the conversation by sending your text message to the number displayed on your screen or send your comments on our Facebook page at SRBC.TSL. It's now time for us to usher in a guest in the program. The Sierra Leone Port and Harbour Authority and the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority have announced a series of strict enforcement measures aimed at improving the safety of container truck operations across the country following a recent fatal road accident involving all-age vehicles. In a joint press release issued on Monday, the 11th of May 2026, the two institutions said the decision followed growing public concerns over unsafe all-age operation, particularly after a recent incident in which a fallen container vehicle reportedly caused the death of several people. According to the statement, the Sierra Leone Port and Harbour Authority and the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority and the Ministry of Transport and Aviation convened an high-level meeting to review safety measures governing the transportation of containerized cargo.
Now, the agencies further stated that although regulations guiding haulage operations already exist and are routinely monitored, operational lapses and enforcement gaps have continued to occur, resulting in what they described as catastrophic consequences. The statement also noted that the disturbing video circulating on social media showing container trucks operating in visible, unsafe, unworthy road unworthiness and condition reinforced the urgent need for stronger enforcement and additional safeguards. Now, as part of the renewed efforts to strengthen compliance and protect public safety, the authorities announced the immediate implementation of enhanced measures at the ports and along haulage routes. But what are these regulations and how will they be enforced? Well, in the studio, like we told you earlier on, we have a grounded panel on an expert panel on the issue to discuss here this morning. We've been joined, and of course, all necessary stakeholders on the panel. We've been joined for obvious reasons by the head of media, PR, Sierra Leone Port and Harbour Authority, Mark Ivan Kapindi-Vandi. Good morning, Mr. Vandi. Welcome to the program.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
All right, and also we are also joined by the spokesperson for passenger welfare, Powell Thomas Barnett. Good morning, Mr. Barnett. Okay, and as well, we are also going to be joined by Issa Sise. He's the chairman for Indigenous Transport Owners Association. Good morning, Issa Sise.
Good morning.
And as well, to spice up the discussion, we be joined by, of course, Chief Inspector of Police on Traffic Division to talk to us on, of course, the said matter. But for now, let's begin with you. Mr. Mark Ivan Kapindi-Vandi. We saw the joint presser by your authority and the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority as well. I mean, outlining several regulations, up to 10 to 11, 12 regulations, which going forward will guide the operational safety of haulage from the ports and along their routes that they will use for offloading and other purposes. But of course, take us head on. How will these regulations, because this is the first time we've been seeing you taking up sort of action to really enforce the law. How is it going to be different this time around?
Okay, thank you very much. So first off, we want to register our commiserations to family members who lost persons of their families in the tragic incident at the Wokel container. And it's a very unfortunate situation, and nobody, I believe, will be praying for such to happen to their family persons. So as an authority, the Sierra Leone Port and Harbour Authority, we are sympathizing with those families, and we are praying that the souls of these persons may find respite in the God we serve. So, you gave a background stating that, and when you were referring to the press release, you stated that there have been some measures before.
Yes.
And then we have reintroduced some of those measures, and we have introduced some other measures to ensure stricter compliance. Now, before this time, we as an authority had been operating in a way that we have one measure we call ensuring there is a lashing mechanism for trucks that leave the key with containers on their vehicles and move off to various locations as per the hire they've hired them.
By the way, at what time are they supposed to be plying the route?
So, let me lay the premise, then I can move to
Very well. Please go on. You have the floor.
Yes. So, like I said, we have this lashing mechanism wherein we ensure that each truck we load with containers are having these lashing chains that we affix the containers to the trucks. This is to prevent the containers from falling off the trucks as they move to their destinations. You get. So now coming to the times these containers should move away from the quay or from the port. We have the east and the west corridor. For the east corridor, as at Monday when we held the meeting with the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority, there is actually no time. No time.
No specific time.
For the east corridor. Okay. And for the west corridor, haulage trucks with containers are allowed to move towards the west from 8 p.m. or after 8 p.m. And this is as a result of if you check towards the west, this is a central business district. It is more congested. People are doing more businesses within the central part of the town, of the city. Do you understand? So it has an 8 p.m. cut-off time from which haulage trucks can go ahead plying the route. So, but then some gaps existed. You understand? So given the rampant, where it's not just about the incident at Hokel, there have been other incidences of trucks having accidents. However, if you check all these accidents, you will not get reports of the fact that it's containers that fell off. You will get reports that probably it was brake failure or something else, and which basically does not fall under our purview as a sound authority. We play our own part, which is to ensure that these vehicles, are being loaded and the containers are being affixed quite well as they leave the quay. Now, coming down to the quay or leaving the quay, we have our gate where we have our security persons there who are to check for licenses, who are to check for for some other things there. Now, we've been notified as at this meeting we held on Monday that there are some of these trucks or some of these drivers who will present fake vehicle license or registration. But we didn't have the mechanism to ascertain whether this license being presented or this insurance being presented to us at the gate is authentic or not. But because of the collaboration, we believe that in ensuring the safety of lives and property insofar cargo transport on these haulage vehicles is concerned, is a collaborated and concerted effort that involves different players, from the Sierra Leone Ports and Harbors Authority, the Indigenous Transport Owners Authority Association, the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority, the SLRA, and even the Sierra Leone Police. Okay. So that is why we brought in the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority, so that we can hang heads to ensure that we put mechanisms in place. And one of the mechanisms we've put in place now is that the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority has handed us handheld devices that authenticates the legitimacy of these licenses and registrations moving forward.
So how is I want to understand the monitoring mechanism, because you said most of the trucks that leave the port, you put chains on them.
Yes.
But most of the time, I've witnessed this a lot of time, that most of these containers that ply on these routes, you don't see them chained. They just put the container on top of the truck without any chain.
No, I beg to differ. Because as at yesterday, I was privy to document after the trucks have been loaded. We have our team which goes to inspect whether they were
You are not always at the scene, so don't jump.
Okay, so I could recall, I think it was 2 years ago, where it was in Abacha State, that we lost a lot of people, even the students, pupil from the annual. The truck came up off the container came off the truck and it fell on the people at Abacha State. Were you not aware of
so
that?
So that's what I'm saying now.
So there are we still have these containers that are not chained.
No, we don't have containers moving off again that are not chained. That's why I was saying before you interjected.
I was also challenging on that because just yesterday, before you make your point, just yesterday, in front of this SLBC, there was one container vehicle
That's
flying
from the key.
Whether it was from the key, I cannot tell. But flying towards Jamaica Kenyatta Road, it was on chain.
Now, I will tell you this with the strongest conviction, that every truck that leaves the key, even as at yesterday, you're making reference to yesterday, I'm also making reference to yesterday. Before the trucks leave the key, upon being loaded, the team comes, the technical service department will come and check.
Alright, so
if these vehicles are not being lashed, if the containers are not being lashed to the vehicles, an advice is being sent to the security persons at our gate.
So Mr. Van, just
that
before
these
we
people
move
with
to
this
our
license
next
registration
panelist,
should not leave the key.
just before we move to our next panelist, remember I asked you earlier on, this is not the first time we are seeing such an intervention being made by both authorities. I ask you, what is going to be different in terms of enforcement mechanism this time around? Because we don't want to have a recurrence of this particular situation. And now, as an authority,
so what is going to be different is before we have been operating alone. Now we have people like the Leone Road Safety Authority that is now collaborating with us. They have also given us our word, because mark you, the moment that container or the moment whatever haulage truck leaves the key, it is not under our purview anymore, but in the purview of the Leone Road Safety Authority. So they are also ensuring that when it leaves the key, they do their roadworthy test and all of these things. We even raised issues with regards to substance abuse, alcohol and intake and all of that.
So
but what was because like when they gave us the handheld device, we raised the concern that we also may need breathalyzers. But then they told us breathalyzers are to check whether the person is under the influence of alcohol. But then they told us breathalyzers can only detect alcohol and not tramadol and other substances. And most of these drivers now, or some of these drivers who take some of these things, are not taking alcohol.
Mr. Van, still on enforcement. Still on enforcement. Sorry to cut it short. Yes. Still on enforcement. We saw the other day it was the no less a person than Inspector General of Police walked into your office to sign a partnership with your Director General. You know, we saw that made rounds in the news. We were so happy because we thought that, I mean, this can be a game changer for your authority. But after that, it's not even up to a year. We're seeing occurrences of situations such as this one, and the lives of citizens are lost in the process. That's why we keep asking, what is really going to be different? You talk about breathalyzers, talk about the actions of vehicle owners when they go out in the street, when they ply the route, and how sometimes they are even reckless in so far as their activities along the road are concerned. What are the enforcement mechanisms you're going to be taking that are going to be stringent compared to what used to obtain?
So one of the mechanisms is this: the Leone Road Safety Authority, like I said, it's by strata, different players. When we play our part, the Road Safety Authority play their part, the Leone Police play their part. Now, the Leone Road Safety Authority has promised that they will be giving us a list of vehicles they are marked as being unroadworthy and unsafe to ply the routes. Now, when these lists meet us as an authority, then we will know that WKR 224 as a vehicle license registration.
So that's also sense on lapses on your part in terms of monitoring, because these vehicles, they start right from the port.
We as an authority,
you don't have the authority to
check
stop
the
them.
roadworthiness of these vehicles.
Oh, really?
It is the mandate of the Road Safety Authority.
All right, okay. On that,
so when they check it and send this list to us,
so even if the vehicle is in a bad condition, just because they want to put the container, you can't put it there because
bad condition as now. If you check the release,
as in you see worn out tires, you see
so that's
a frontage of those.
So that's where I'm coming from. If you check the release, you will find out that we stated that moving forward, leaving the key, if you have smooth and worn out tires, you're not going to be allowed to leave the key.
Right, that's what we are talking about.
No, because you cannot say it's not your
No, I'm just stating that moving forward from the key.
Continue to stay us in the program. We really appreciate your enthusiasm and the effort you are putting in this morning's conversation. He is the head of media and PR, Leone Ports and Harbour Authority, and of course, he's Mike Ivan Kapinivani. Quickly, we also have the spokesperson of the passenger welfare in the studio. But just before going to him, we want to join this Chief Inspector Edward Koto Kamara. Is the Information Officer Traffic Management Leone Police. Well, they are in charge of this safety of our roads, and then he's here to talk to us on this particular issue of importance. Good morning, Chief Inspector Kotokama. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
All right. Of course, Chief Inspector Kotokama, it's no gainsaying that under your watchful eyes, we've seen these set of container vehicles plying the roads, and of course you see a lot of social media videos. If you might want to say you are so busy on the road that you cannot really, stop to check some of these vehicles making the rounds to tell you that people are really, taking the chance to ply the routes using some of these unworthy vehicles to really, which has resulted in catastrophic incidences, just as the joint release by the authorities have stated. What have you been doing so far to curtail this?
Once again, thank you very much for having me. Of course, the Australian police, we have the mandate, the primary mandate,
Certainly,
for law enforcement in this country, as is prescribed by the Constitution of Australia, Section 155. So, the incident that happened was very unfortunate, and could be portioned as a result of lawlessness on the part of majority of our people. We have been doing ours. We have been doing our own part of the enforcement. So what we have agreed on is a concerted effort by all players, because when you see what happened with regards to that particular incident, in fact, we learned that that vehicle has been condemned, not even to apply again with any container.
Okay.
But it was running on the streets of Freetown, and you have your officers on this street.
So that's what I'm saying. And because the police is overwhelmed, and we cannot have magic to be everywhere at the same time. So who might have known what kind of tactics that was played?
Okay.
In as much as we don't want to shift blame or don't take responsibility.
Yeah.
Of course, but we are still here, and that is why stakeholders has been called yesterday to move to see what will be the way forward.
So, Mr. Kamara, you can agree with me that, especially when it's at night, you have checkpoints mounted by police officers to monitor the vehicles that pass through this route. Are you saying that at that time we are overwhelmed that you couldn't see this particular vehicle that is making out on social media?
The question was not at night.
Yeah, sure, we know.
The question was not at night.
Sure.
And what we are doing as prescribed by our job is security issue at night. So that container in question was not at night.
But even if it's during the day, a vehicle without a tire, you can't. Since the vehicle left wherever it left until reaching that particular point.
If people were told by the police to go by the law, so it then you flout. Is the police has to be responsible because they have been told, and that vehicle has been put aside. That it should not fly again.
Right.
So yes.
So if it's in the streets of Freetown running, even though the vehicle has been condemned, is it not the goal of the Australian police to monitor?
It is ours, and we have been doing that. It is ours. We accept responsibility for enforcement.
Okay.
It is our responsibility.
All right. So of course, here the reason why we are really, you see, Esther seems to be really passionate about this issue because these things have been happening on our watchful eyes. We see these container vehicles deploy the routes at random. Sometimes they drive so recklessly they don't even adhere to traffic signs. They think that because they are carrying their heavy-duty vehicle carriers, they can just do anything they wish like they can do. But the question we want to put to you now is in terms of enforcement mechanism. What strategies have you been using? Like, for example, you say you impound the vehicle, you not only seize the license, the particular driver that is carrying that particular haulage can be, of course, banned from plying the routes. What are these enforcement mechanisms you've been putting in place?
So, which means going forward from what has happened.
Okay.
Though it should not be a reactive position, because what we are doing now
It's a
is
reactive approach.
So going forward is to put more enforcement. I mean to put more weight on enforcement. That ABC, if you are not supposed to be on the streets of Freetown, that has to be enforced. Because that brought us yesterday on a very sensitive meeting at ONS, which was summoned by ONS with all stakeholders to map our strategies as to mitigate or even eradicate what has happened.
Okay, so you made mention that you're overwhelmed, that you cannot be everywhere. So now you had this meeting about you mapping the way forward. How would you ensure that we don't have recurrence of these incidents?
So
Because you made mention that you're overwhelmed. So how are you going to go about it?
A task force has been put in place to make sure that what has happened, we be on our toes more, to do more, and see that lives cannot go unnecessarily like that.
All right. Continue to stay us in the program is Chief Inspector Koto Kamara, and of course, hello Koto Kamara, in charge of Traffic Division. We still have in the studio Issa Sise, Chairman for Indigenous Transport Owners Association. Of course, Mr. Sise, welcome again to the conversation. You've been hearing from other panelists. You bear the greatest bond in this particular issue, because you are not only vehicle owners, but you sit in some of these vehicles that fly around, these container vehicles, and you are in the center of this particular disturbance to our society. First off, what do you have to say insofar as some of the havocs you've been causing across the road?
Yeah, once more, good morning for having me. As you're asking me now, it's like I'm a new elected chairman just 3 months back. So some of the issues that I've been, let me say, roaming about for the past 20 years. I was the outgoing chairman, he has done his best and been newly elected chairman. Some of the things that I've tried to put in place, especially when it comes to safety, what I call something like a spot check, which I will start come next week, Monday. Especially some of the things that have been highlighted by my colleague here when it comes to license, smooth tires, all of the sorts. You find out that when it comes to containerization, let me be honest, most of the time you have containers applied to the streets of it, sometimes machine properly, and some of the things that
I'm sure Mr.
Mr. Vani was
Properly.
no, but that's the honest truth. As me being a newly elected chairman, some of the things that I will put in place is like I have what I call a spot check. Come Monday, I will be at Clients Roundabout. For any truck plying the ports, I will make sure I check before the truck reach the port.
All right, Mr. Say, just before I start conversation, let's say you're a new man on the seat.
Yeah.
But will you want to take responsibility for so far as, the compromise of road safety is concerned, maybe by your constituents, the Indigenous Transport Association?
Of course, as a chairman, everybody is counting on me to do my own part. And if I will be honest with everybody, it's like both of us have our own part to play, because the Port Authority cannot do it alone, neither the police department. So, as a newly elected chairman, what I will do my own part is like when it comes to safety, some of the things that causes these road clashes when it comes to containerization, thorough lash the containers, and what I will do is like spot check before even flying the ports. For example, if a truck comes, I say, okay, I have marshal that I've put on streets. Come Monday, especially we have spots like a Klein Town, that's of Elena and Savage Fire. These are the entry points when you're coming down the ports. So what I will do is like, because if I have marshals in the particular place, for example, check on spot check, license could be thoroughly checked. If your truck is not licensed, then you don't go back. I want to force members to know, in as much as you want to come and find your daily bread, but there are rules.
You need to be responsible.
So do you have the necessary manpower to be everywhere to check these vehicles?
I cannot be, no. To be honest, I don't have that manpower.
You seem to be very honest.
yeah, but the thing is, whether you are from east side or west side, you want to apply the pots.
Okay.
So me being around the pots, the access of the pots, for example, Klein Town, that's of Shell Pumpkin, and when you come in from the west, Savage Choir, I think I can able to deny you access to apply the pot to make.
Okay. So the issue of recklessness is a concern by your constituents that you cannot deny.
Yeah.
Okay. So as the new chairman of this Indigenous Transport Owners Association, how do you ensure you tackle the issue of recklessness among your constituents?
I think one of the things that we are facing, not only when it comes to trucking, is a mindset of Sierra Leone. If I know that this that I'm drinking is the repercussion of this one is going to be a negative act, I should not do it. So what I would do as a chairman of the Indigenous Transport Owners Association, when it comes to our drivers, I will not dispute the fact most of them do take drugs, and like my colleague just said, the thing that they have when it comes to checking of drugs, the breathalyzer cannot detect tramadol and that of other stuff. What I will do, because most of the thing that my feasibility studies that I've done round the ports, you see guys selling these drugs to drivers, and I will assure that I will work in collaboration with the police force, AIG Kanye, and make sure those guys that sell the particular drugs around that particular vicinity in the port, get rid of them. Because you see at times, most of the drivers in the port, they come outside and then get some at all.
Inside the port?
No, outside the port.
Okay.
So those are some of the things. No, not in the port.
Oh, I thank you very much.
Outside the port.
Thank you very much. Issa Sisi, the chairperson for Indigenous Transport Owners Association, giving their own side of course, their own bits in terms of this, insofar as this conversation is concerned. Chief Inspector Edward Koto Kamara, just before we let you go in the program, we know you have, of course, very other important assignments or duties to lend credence to. We know the importance of our traffic officers along our road to ensure safety. But just before you go, do you mind taking us to, because critics of the Sierra Police, especially the traffic division, have really pointed accusing fingers against the institution that when some of these container vehicles will use these routes, your personnel will be there, you just give them something and they allow them to apply. How will you ensure that, although you've stated personnel constraint, but how will you ensure that the few that will be to man and enforce the laws do it properly?
So the police job is an everyday routine duty.
Okay.
And before ever you are deployed, you go out for your duty or your post duty, you are being briefed by a commander, and afterwards you have been debriefed as to how you have carried yourself throughout the day. So on what has happened is still a lesson that we are going to the drawing board.
Okay.
And see where we need to improve and move forward. Because the trends of times, as they change, you have to move swiftly and work with those.
Okay.
So we take responsibility, of course. We don't want to shift the blame.
Okay.
We should do our part as we have been doing, and we continue that we put our men for them to be more vigilant and be professional in doing what they are supposed to do.
So finally, what level of assurance will you give members of the public?
Well, the assurance is there because every now and then we work 24 hours. No traffic officer should be on his beat at his beat after 6 o'clock. And no one leaves after, latest 10:30.
Okay.
So you could imagine. So it's just that it's not too easy, but
sure, we understand. We understand the situation you go through in enforcing the law. But thank you very much for being part of the program. It's Chief Inspector Edward Koto Kamara from the Traffic Division of the Sierra Leone Police. Thank you very much for giving your honest insight so far as this conversation is concerned. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone. We now will take our health tips into today's edition of the program. And our health tips will explore the alarming prevalence of cannabis use disorder, its symptoms and the importance of recognizing and addressing the issue in medical settings. Please watch and learn.
Everybody, this is Kyla. and today on The State of Health, we're diving into an important study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association about the prevalence of cannabis use disorder among both medical and non-medical users. More than 1/5, or 21% of people who use cannabis grapple with dependency or problematic use, according to recent research. Clinicians describe cannabis use disorder as an issue where use of cannabis leads to a variety of symptoms, such as recurrent social and occupational problems, indicating impairment and distress. The study found that 6.5% of users had moderate to severe cannabis use disorder. It was observed that cannabis users who experienced more severe dependency were mostly recreational users, whereas less severe but still problematic use was associated almost equally with medical and recreational use. The most common symptoms among both groups were increased tolerance, craving, and uncontrolled escalation of cannabis use. In the backdrop of the increasing cannabis use nationwide as more states legalize it, these findings are crucial. Previous research has shown that around 20% of cannabis users develop cannabis use disorder, which can be treated with detoxification and abstinence, therapies, and other treatments that work with addictive behaviors. The data for the recent study was drawn from nearly 1,500 primary care patients in Washington state, where recreational use is legal. The research discovered that 42% of cannabis users identified themselves solely as medical users, 25% identified as non-medical users, and 32% identified as both recreational and medical users. The study strongly emphasizes the importance of assessing patient cannabis use and cannabis use disorder symptoms in medical settings. This aligns with prior research that urges people to be aware of the potential risks of developing cannabis use disorder, particularly among those who initiate early and use frequently during adolescence. Coming to the methodology of the study, a systematic review of epidemiological, cross-sectional, and longitudinal studies on the prevalence and risks of cannabis use disorders among cannabis users was conducted. The team identified studies published between 2009 and 2019 through PubMed, the Global Burden Disease Database, and supplementary searches up to 2020. The outcomes of interest were cannabis use disorders based on DSM or ICD criteria. The results showed that among people who used cannabis, 22% have cannabis use disorder, 13% have cannabis abuse, and 13% have cannabis dependence. The risk of developing cannabis dependence increased to 33% among young people who engaged in regular use of cannabis. In conclusion, it is essential to inform cannabis users about the risks of developing cannabis use disorders and the higher risks among those who initiate early and use frequently during adolescence. Future studies are necessary to examine how changes in cannabis policies may affect the risks of cannabis use disorders in the population. Anyways, friends, that is going to do it for today's State of Health. If you enjoyed this, please do me such a huge favor. Click those like and subscribe buttons, and if you're listening as a podcast, go consider leaving a review or a 5-star rating. Don't forget to check out stateofhealth.care for more relevant medical news and content. Until next time, keep your curiosity piqued and your stethoscope close.
Welcome back. The program you're watching is Good Morning Sierra Leone. Of course, that was our health tips for today, and we do hope you've learned a lot from that. And it's in connection with cannabis use disorder. And just before we came from the break, I was cracking my bones with my studio guest. I said, well, if there's disorderly use of cannabis, meaning
maybe that can be another
orderly use of cannabis, but that's just an aside. I hope you've learned a lot from that video. We still have a esteemed panel in the studio this morning to talk around the state's nationwide safety measures unveiled by the Sierra Leone Port and Harbour Authority and the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority. After the fatal container truck crashes that have been reported across the city. Well, for that reason, we now want to be joined by, of course, by someone who speaks for on behalf of passenger welfare in the country, in the person of Mr. Thomas Barnett. Good morning, Mr. Barnett. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Of course, in recent times, we've really seen, a lot of incidents of road crashes involving container vehicles. You speak for behalf of the welfare of passengers. What do you make up of this ugly development?
First of all, I want to express condolences to the grieving family and speedy recovery for those who are still injured, the 2 people who are still injured. It's very disheartening. Unfortunately, for that particular location, this is not the first time we have incidences of that nature.
Okay.
Actually, I think this is the 3rd time. And so we have to take collective responsibility, and all of us, talking about the vehicle owners themselves, the authorities who enforce the laws, and also even the passengers and the pedestrians. Because we saw in that particular area there are a lot of street trading that happens. And we know there's no shortage of laws in Sierra Leone prohibiting street trading. But what we have is actually the lack of compliance to the laws that have been created to prohibit street trading, which could have actually they have less impact on the incident.
So just like you had from Chief Inspector Koto Kamara, this is not about shifting the blame on whosoever is responsible. It's about taking the stringent actions to really, nip this at the bud. But insofar as, your organization is concerned, do you see this as a mere a bit of ineptitude or lack of proper inspection from the law enforcers?
Both. I would say both. Because what we do, we advocate really just for everybody to make sure people are safe in the first place. That area we have, since I've witnessed several accidents that have happened, I was expecting at least by now they should have actually done everything in their power to prohibit people from street trading. But it has not happened.
Okay.
Now we've seen actually they have demolished again the makeshift structures that were there. I think that was thanks to the SLRA and the Sierra Leone police. I'll tell you, if you go there maybe a month or 2 after, people will still come back there. So it's really, that's why I said it's collective responsibility. People have to take responsibility and for their own actions, and to know that yes, we don't begrudge you for going and making ends meet for your family, but you cannot do it at the detriment of your own life.
So Mr. Bennett, how do you come in as passenger welfare, speaking to the minds of Sierra Leoneans? Because even though these drivers may have been reckless or have their own ways of doing things, but the attitude of Sierra Leoneans, some people, they can see the container coming and stand as if they don't even know it's something dangerous that is coming. So how do you speak to the minds of Sierra Leoneans? How do you come in?
You have children, and there are some who will listen to you, there are some who just will not listen, except they will see the impact of what you're talking about. So unfortunately, this is what happens. Sometimes people will not listen, and you will go and clear a particular area and say, we don't want people to trade in this area, and they will come back. When there are people, there are factors responsible for that. They would say they don't have proper market areas, which we see the Christian State Council or other councils are responsible for creating this environment for people to trade, and they have to do that. But we cannot make the whole city, just a trading center. There's nowhere in the world that happens. We have specific designated areas where trading is allowed. So we have to continue I have to continue to actually speak to the conscience of people who say certain areas are not safe for you to trade, because this is the consequence of what happens when you don't listen.
Okay, so Mr. Bennett, you heard from so I'm quite sure you saw the press release, the joint press release by SLRSA and SLPHA. You can agree with me that these measures are not new, even though they have added some measures. Do you see these measures highlighted? Because you mentioned that these accidents, and they are not new, they have been happening, especially in that part. So do you see these measures as the way to go?
Well, it's a good start. They are not new, but like I said, they are no shortage of laws in Sierra Leone. And most of them are fresh, but sometimes we feel like they have added stringent ones, but I think they need to make sure that people comply. And that we don't forget about this, because what happens now, the spotlight is on it, and everybody is paying attention to it. What we want, we are appealing to them that come a month or 2, that they do not forget about this, then we have a recurrence of the same accidents happening. So that's why. But I think it's a good start because now this is serious. I think this is the worst I've seen of this accident that happened. So
Definitely, because you see consider the amount of people that lives that was lost in that.
And the mother and the child.
And here's the thing, a lot of people are asking how many more lives should be lost before actions are taken. But we're just happy.
One is too many.
Yeah, we're just so happy that these stringent actions are going to be taken. But again, Mr. Thomas Barney, let's digress a little bit. You know, your organization of recent has come under a lot of criticisms by members of the public, not to be engaging enough for better use of words. One example could be, during the rise in fuel price. We saw the transport regulation for Ministry of Transport, regulating the price as to what various commercial transport owners should take to go to different destinations. Those regulations we are not adhered to, but you are quiet about it.
No, we're not quiet. Well, I tell you what, we do a lot of advocacy, and the enforcement.
Oh, meaning you are still advocating for them to be adhered to.
We are still advocating for people to adhere to those prices. And every now and then we have forums where we speak, we tell them this is the price, and you also have to make sure that what the government says the price is what you're supposed to pay.
All right.
Unfortunately, we have people who offer to pay more than what the government asks them to, because they want to move faster. They're tired of standing in the same location. We have shortages of.
And you don't consider that to be exploitation?
It is exploitation, but what can you do if somebody offers to pay more than what the government requires?
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Barnett, how do you plan on collaborating with SLPHA and all other partners to ensure that these regulations that they have highlighted can be actually put into, because as you heard from them, what is needed now is collaboration, so as we don't get the recurrence of accidents and other fatal incidents that can lead to death of Sierra Leone.
Well, this is the first time I've never collaborated with SLPHA, so this is an opportunity for me to meet them.
Definitely, that's what we do here at SLBC. We bring all the players together and they allow me to collaborate. But continue to state us in the program is the spokesperson.
So this is my first time actually.
Definitely. Please use the time after the program to network and do the needful. All right, he is the spokesperson for, of course, Passenger Welfare Association. Talking to us here is Thomas Barnett. Quickly, we move to another segment in the program, which has to do with the review of the front pages of our local tablets. For that, I begin with the satellite newspaper. It opens with a banner headline: amid global uncertainty, VP Julia Jallo urges African leaders to embrace self-reliance. To go, that story is a portrait of Vice President Dr. Mohamed Julia Jallo. From idea to impact, ROS VP changed my journey. This is according to Satellite. And Bumbuna Idigo to shut down for maintenance. Our stories you can find on the front page of Satellite newspaper.
Awareness Times newspapers banner headline says, as Professor Fodestar and Professor Mohammed Stamai cleared alongside Olive Bali, Walter Namake and Betty Boyma. SLPP's minister cited by ACC for grant transfer. And Medical and Dental Council warns that Nigerian citizen Akashu Sheila Montol is not a doctor and on the run. Well, this stories and many more you can find on the Awareness Times newspaper.
For Awareness Times newspaper, my penultimate speak is the Africa 24 Communications newspaper. It has on its front page, Magic TVSL officially launched, government to tame religious practices, and 79 candidates apply for Leone star coach. From public to close door hearings, PAC accused. Our stories you can find on the front page of the Africa 24 Communications.
Well, Independent Observer's newspaper banner headline says, no religious policy has been adopted. Government clarifies. APC Elder Honorable Ibrahim Soyi backs Dr. Ibrahim Bangura for flag bearer. And LAJ Peace Ambassador of Billion. Well, these stories and many more you can find on the Independent Observer newspaper.
From the Independent Observer, my final pick is the Glenn newspaper. It's out on its front page. Action here. All tax hikes, reduce excess spending. It's according to the Glenn newspaper. To go, that story is a portrait of His Excellency President Julius Maadabiu, the Minister of Finance, and of course the Commissioner General. And that's all you can find on the front page of Glenn newspaper. For more of that, go grab a second copy.
Freetown Daily newspaper's banner headline says, Vice President unveils UK partnership for 2026 to 2029. Progress and promise, a shared journey for every child. That is directly quoting UNICEF country representative. And measles outbreak, 41 confirmed cases. YFM convenes West African experts in Freetown. This stories and many more you can find on the Freetown Daily newspaper. But viewers must quickly announce to you that these headlines together does not reflect the views of the SLBC, or we are merely reviewing them.
On that note, of course, we come back to studio to round off with our guest. And for that obvious reason, Mr. Vandy, you've been silent for a while. In closing, you've had the lot of commitments by all the panelists representing different institutions to really collaborate with you guys, not just SLPHA and SLISA, but to ensure that road safety can no longer be compromised. What do you make up of this?
So, like I have stated earlier, we want every player, all stakeholders, all institutions to come on board. And then it's unfortunate that we are having accidents of this nature, and we want to put a stop to that. And that is why we are collaborating with them. Moving forward with them, ensuring that there is effectiveness of this, we are going to ensure in playing our own part that going forward, if we see, vehicles that are unlicensed, they are defective, unroadworthy, we'll ensure that they are not even loaded. Okay, they are not even loaded to leave the key, and we will ensure that we continue the collaboration, because in as much as we play our own part, if we see some other parts that are to be played by other players and there are lapses, then we will definitely communicate to authorities concerned and call them to book so that they can.
Thank you very much. He's the head of media and PR of Sierra Leone Port and Harbour Authority, and he is Mark Ivan Kapinde. I'm leaving the Mark oftentimes. Mark Ivan Kapinde Valley. Thank you very much for being on the panel this morning. Quickly over to you, Mr. Issa Sise. Of course, though you are a new man on the seats, but you've made a lot of commitments. And then, as far as I'm concerned, I want to judge you by your words. You seem to be very much honest to us this morning. How do you intend to translate that to ensure that all of your constituents will follow too?
I think one of the things that I will try to implement is consistency. Is same thing that I'll start with day one. For example, I will ensure that I have 2 shift marshals that ply the street going down the port. For example, because you have those drivers, maybe they come late at night to ply the port. So if we have 2 shifts of marshals at that particular perimeter of the port, I think I will force them to comply the safety rules of.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sise. Quickly over to you, Mr.
Yes, we also want people to be very, very diligent and also be compliant with laws of the roads. And we hope that we're not going to get a recurrence of this incident again in Freetown with all these measures that are being put in place. So we hope that this will be the end to this saga. And once more, my condolence to the grieving families. I hope they will find ways to make their families.
On that one, thank you very much. We as well send on behalf of management and staff of the SLBC send condolence messages to the family of that fatal container crash. Well, and other crashes along our way. That's why we're reporting on today's discussion. It has been insightful, educative, and very much
a lot of
commitments made, and that's what we do here at the SLBC. We'll continue to follow up on these issues. But many thanks to our studio guests, and thanks to you, our esteemed viewers, for being part of the program. The program returns tomorrow. Until then, I'm Dennis Fraser.
And I am Esther Sako. Quickly take our quote of the day, and it's from American actress Bea Arthur, and it says, "I believe that you're here on earth for a short time, and while you're here, you shouldn't forget it." Good morning, sir. Returns tomorrow. I am Esther Sako. Stay glued to your public podcast at the SLBC. If you can, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
Across Saloni, more people are asking the same question. Why buy fuel anywhere else when Cornex gives you more? Professionally trained attendants who know service matters. Honest fuel. A litre is a litre every single time. And when it's time to pay, easy. Pay with mobile money. Visa or MasterCard, or the Cornex Fuel Card. Clean restrooms, welcoming spaces. Every station, every time. Clean fuel, clean spaces, clear value. That's why Sierra Leone fuels with Cornex. Cornex retail outlets. Always clean, always professional, always for you. Fuel smart, live smart. Get your Cornex Fuel Card today. I run a small logistics company. Every cent counts. I didn't think I needed a fuel card until I got the Cornex Fuel Card. Now, I track exactly how much fuel my fleet uses, in real time. And when my wife or kids need fuel, no cash, no stress. It's safe, accepted nationwide, and I control how much goes on each card. At the end of the month, I see the savings, real savings. Cornex Fuel Card. I didn't know I needed it. Now, I can't run my business or family without it. Fuel smart, live smart. Visit any Cornex filling station to sign off, or any Cornex office to get your card.
As a mother of the house, whenever I want to prepare palm soup, there's no need pounding palm fruit. All I need is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. My soup is done, and its preparation, it is not difficult at all. Nkulenu palm soup base, it's easily done with no difficulties. Just take few ladles and your soup is done. And its flavor, it's amazing. This is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. And this is Nkulenu's Ghana's original spiced palm soup base. Iron fruit and turkey berries are naturally added.
Also available Brown Gold Natural Cocoa Powder, Sunny Gold Brown Sugar, Neat Fufu Flour, Shito, Pisa, and Moringa. All available at Nyami Ado Enterprise, 1 Lower Waterloo Street, Freetown.
Nkulenu palm soup base.
Ghanaian original taste.